Man, I love malls. I do. Once I was in this mall up in Atlanta and these guys were dancing for like money and stuff and my friend Dave and I was all like,
Mec, j'adore les centres commerciaux. Je fais. Une fois, j'étais dans ce centre commercial, à Atlanta, et ces gars dansaient pour de l'argent et des trucs et mon ami Dave et moi étions comme.
Jimmy Gibbs Jr. is the man. I mean, I don't know anybody like that, man. But there was this guy I knew. He raced dirt tracks, not stock cars, but open wheel cars, you know? And he was racing once. And a goat.
Jimmy Gibbs Jr. es el hombre. Quiero decir, no conozco a nadie así, hombre. Pero había un tipo que conocía, corría en pistas de tierra, no en autos de serie, sino en autos de ruedas abiertas. Ya sabes, y corría una vez y era una cabra.
I knew this guy who was trying to set the world record on staying on a Ferris wheel. He'd been up there like 2 days or something, and he wanted some beer, but they weren't giving him any, so he got this rope. Now don't ask me where he got the rope from.
Conoscevo questo ragazzo che stava cercando di stabilire il record mondiale rimanendo su una ruota panoramica. Era lassù da tipo 2 giorni o qualcosa del genere. E voleva della birra. Ma non gliene davano. Quindi ha preso questa corda. E non chiedermi da dove l'ha presa.
Man, all this mud reminds me of my friend Keith. Yeah, he was going to build a shack once to live in and all. And I know most people here, they build houses and they become shacks. But Keith, he was about jumping right to the shack stage. But he had no wood. So he got some mud and was making what we were all thinking was going to be these adobe bricks, you know, like when the people out west made bricks and shit. Well, he had mud and...
Człowieku, całe to błoto przypomina mi mojego przyjaciela Keitha. Tak, chciał kiedyś zbudować chatę, żeby w niej zamieszkać i tak dalej, i wiem, że większość ludzi tutaj buduje domy i zamieniają się w chaty, ale Keith miał zamiar wskoczyć od razu na scenę chaty. Ale nie miał drewna, więc wziął trochę błota i zrobił to, co wszyscy myśleliśmy. Że będzie to cegła adobe, wiesz, jak wtedy, gdy ludzie z zachodu robili cegły i takie tam? Cóż, miał błoto i...
I ain't ever been in a sugarcane field before. I mean, I seen them and all, but no real reason to go into one. But now you go into a peach grove, you find all sorts of cool shit. This one time, I was in a...
Ještě nikdy jsem nebyl na poli cukrové třtiny. Chci říct, viděl jsem je a všechny, ale žádný skutečný důvod se do jednoho pouštět, ale teď jdete do broskvového háje, kde najdete nejrůznější sračky. Tentokrát jsem byl v...
Do you know what suck the heads means? Because I came down here with Keith once, and he didn't know. And, I mean, it ain't nothing bad. It's about eating.
Ты знаешь, что значит «сосать головы»? Потому что однажды я пришла сюда с китом, а он не знал, и... Я имею в виду, в этом нет ничего плохого. Это о еде.
I ever tell you about the time Keith and I made fireworks? Now, I didn't know shit about chemistry, but Keith figured gasoline burns, doesn't it? 3rd degree burns on 95% of his body. Man, people in the next city over were calling to complain about the smell of burning skin.
Saya pernah bercerita tentang waktu Kate dan saya membuat kembang api. Sekarang, saya tidak tahu apa-apa tentang kimia, tapi Kate berpikir, bensin terbakar, bukan? Luka bakar tingkat 3 di 95% tubuhnya. Sobat, orang-orang di kota sebelah menelepon untuk mengeluh tentang bau kulit yang terbakar.
I ever tell you about the time Keith tried to deep fry a turkey? Third-degree burns over 90% of his body. His doctor called up like other doctors to look at him because they'd never seen burns on top of existing burns.
Sana hiç Keith'in bir hindiyi derin yağda kızartmaya çalıştığı zamandan bahsetmiş miydim? Vücudunun %90'ından fazlasında 3. derece yanıklar var, doktoru. Tıpkı diğer doktorları ona bakmaları için aradı çünkü mevcut yanıkların üzerinde hiç yanık görmemişlerdi.
I ever tell you about the time my buddy Keith drove his car off a cliff, broke both his legs? Hey, it's not a funny ha-ha story so much as it's a make-you-think story. For instance, windshields look pretty durable, right? Yeah, not the case according to Keith. Son of a bitch flew right through that sucker.
Я коли-небудь розповідав вам про той час, коли мій приятель Кейт зігнув свою машину зі скелі, зламавши собі обидві ноги. Це не стільки кумедна історія, ха-ха, скільки історія, яка змушує вас думати. Наприклад, лобове скло виглядає досить міцним, чи не так? Не так, за словами кіта. Сучий син пролетів прямо через цю присоску.
My buddy Keith lived in a graveyard once for a whole year. It wasn't a dare or nothing, he just got kicked out of his house. He said he never saw a single ghost except this one time when a ghost stabbed him from behind and took all his money, and he might have just been a homeless guy because he had a robe on with 2 eyes cut out his face.
मेरा दोस्त कीथ पूरे साल में एक बार कब्रिस्तान में रहता था। यह कोई साहस या कुछ भी नहीं था, उसे बस उसके घर से बाहर निकाल दिया गया था। उन्होंने कहा कि उन्होंने कभी एक भी भूत नहीं देखा, सिवाय इस बार जब एक भूत ने उन्हें पीछे से चाकू मार दिया और उनके सारे पैसे ले लिए, और हो सकता है कि वह एक बेघर आदमी रहे हों, क्योंकि उनके चेहरे पर 2 आंखें कटी हुई थीं।
My buddy Keith tried camping out on top of a building once. He was shooting crows, but the police were too busy tear gassing him to ask what he was doing up there. He screamed for an entire year every single time he opened his eyes. Oh man. At first it was funny, then it just got sad, but then it got funny again. Oh man.
Ο φίλος μου ο Keith προσπάθησε να κάνει κάμπινγκ στην κορυφή ενός κτηρίου μια φορά. Πυροβολούσε κοράκια, αλλά η αστυνομία ήταν πολύ απασχολημένη με δακρυγόνα για να τον ρωτήσει τι έκανε εκεί πάνω. Ούρλιαζε για έναν ολόκληρο χρόνο κάθε φορά που άνοιγε τα μάτια του. Ο μέγα άνθρωπος. Στην αρχή, ήταν αστείο. Μετά έγινε λυπηρό, αλλά μετά έγινε και πάλι αστείο. Ο μέγα άνθρωπος.
Ποιος μωρό μου ποιος.
I ever tell you about the time my buddy Keith got rolled by a gator in a swamp? Man, he didn't agonize it or nothing. We were just trying to grab 2 so we could piss him off and get him into a fight. Well, anyway, the 3rd time Keith went under, I realized something was wrong, so I...
我有没有告诉过你我的好友基斯在沼泽地里被鳄鱼碾过的事？伙计，他并没有为此感到痛苦或什么都没有，我们只是想抓住2个，这样我们就可以激怒他们并让他们打架。好吧，无论如何，第3次基斯倒下时，我意识到出了什么问题，所以我
没有共产党就没有新中国，没有共产党。
I ever tell you about the time my buddy Keith drowned in the tunnel of love? You wouldn't think it could happen because the water's so shallow, but that's how it gets you, man. Overconfidence. Keith was with his lady at the time, and he was yelling for her to save him, but she didn't want to get wet.
Ich habe dir jemals von der Zeit erzählt, als mein Kumpel Keith im Tunnel der Liebe ertrank? Man würde nicht glauben, dass das passieren könnte, weil das Wasser so flach ist. Aber so erwischt es einen, Mann. Selbstüberschätzung. Keith war zu der Zeit bei seiner Frau und rief ihr zu, sie solle ihn retten, aber sie wollte nicht nass werden.
I ever tell you about the time me and Keith snuck into a tunnel of love? Man, if you get your spit thick enough, you see, y'all can hang a loogie off the overhang, right? So when smooching sons of bitches behind you.
Eu já te contei sobre quando eu e Kate entramos no Tunnel of Love. Cara, se você deixar sua saliva grossa o suficiente. Veja bem, vocês podem pendurar um lug na saliência, certo? Então quando beijar filhos da puta atrás de você.
I ever tell you about the time me and Keith snuck a paintball guns on a roller coaster? I never heard of anybody else doing it, so I thought we might invent a sport. So Keith called the patent office, but
나랑 키스가 롤러코스터에서 페인트볼 총을 슬금슬금 훔쳤던 때 얘기한 적 있어? 다른 사람이 하는 걸 들어본 적이 없어서 우리가 스포츠를 발명했을지도 모른다고 생각해서 키스가 특허청에 전화를 걸었지만
여보세요.
I ever tell you about the time me and Keith made homemade bumper car ride with ride mowers in his backyard? Mower blade wounds over 90% of his body. I didn't run him over either. He somehow managed to fall under his own.
私とキースが家の裏庭で芝刈り機を積んだ自家製バンパーカーを作った時のことを話したことがありますか？草刈り機の刃で体の 90% 以上に傷を負った。私も彼を引きませんでした。彼はどういうわけか自分自身に落ち着くことができました。
I ever tell you about the time me and Keith filled up water balloons with our own?
لقد أخبرتكم يوما يا رفاق عن الوقت الذي قمت فيه أنا وكيث بملء بالونات الماء الخاصة بنا.
One time, the army bombed my buddy Keith. He went camping and didn't bother to read the signs, and I guess they were just testing bombs that day. All sorts of stuff, too, not just regular bombs, like biological nerve gas bombs, shrapnel bombs, these bombs that break up into the air to like 100 smaller bombs.
Suatu ketika, tentera mengebom kawan saya Keith. Dia pergi berkemah dan tidak peduli untuk membaca papan tanda, dan saya rasa mereka hanya menguji bom pada hari itu. Macam-macam barang juga, bukan bom biasa sahaja. Seperti bom gas saraf biologi, bom serpihan, bom ini yang pecah di udara menjadi, seperti, 100 bom yang lebih kecil.
I ever tell you about the time my buddy Keith fell down an open manhole? He was unconscious down there for like a week. During that time, unbeknownst to Keith, they paved over him. Keith had to...
Naikwento ko sa iyo ang oras na nahulog ang kaibigan kong si Keith sa isang bukas na manhole. Parang isang linggo siyang walang malay doon. Sa mga oras na iyon, lingid sa kaalaman ni Keith. Pinagtagpo siya ng mga ito. Kinailangan ni Keith.
Ako'y isang Pinoy sa puso't diwa.
I ever tell you about the time my buddy Keith and I were on the top of a burning building and we had to fight our way down like 5 floors of zombie? Wait a second. I guess that was you guys. Oh, shit, man. I can't wait to tell Keith about that one.
ฉันเคยบอกคุณเกี่ยวกับตอนที่ฉันกับคีธเพื่อนของฉันอยู่บนยอดตึกที่ไฟไหม้และเราต้องฝ่าฟันลงมาเหมือนซอมบี้5 ชั้นและเดี๋ยวก่อนฉันเดาว่านั่นคือพวกคุณแย่จังฉันแทบรอไม่ไหวแล้วที่จะบอกเรื่องนี้กับคีธ
Ever tell you about the time my buddy Keith fell out the roller coaster? Yeah, he didn't drop forward, mind you, just onto the tracks, but the carnival people wouldn't stop the ride because all the other people paid good money and Keith snuck on for free, so he had to dodge for like 20 minutes or so.
Ți-am spus vreodată despre momentul în care prietenul meu Keith a căzut pe rollercoaster. Da, nu a căzut departe, ține minte, doar pe șine. Dar oamenii de carnaval nu au oprit călătoria pentru că toți ceilalți oameni au plătit bani buni și Kit s-a furișat gratuit. Așa că a trebuit să se eschiveze cam 20 de minute și ceva.
This one time, my buddy Keith on a dare got a tattoo. I'm a moron. Right across his forehead, man. Of course, he made $200 off that, so you ask yourself, who's the real moron, huh?
Ovog puta, moj drug Kit, na DREU, je istetovirao, ja sam moron, pravo preko čela, čovječe. Naravno, zaradio je $200 na tome, pa pitate se, ko je pravi moron.
Helikopter, helikopter, šaljem ako treba.
This one time, my buddy Keith started up a historic tour on account his mom took him to Colonial Williamsburg, and it's like a license to print money at them places.
Deze ene keer startte mijn vriend Keith een historische tournee, omdat zijn moeder hem meenam naar Colonial Williamsburg, en het is als een vergunning om daar geld te drukken.
Now, you might ask yourself how an honest attempt to recreate the majesty of colonial times turned into raccoon fights at $5 a pop at Keith's backyard. Man, the answer to that particular question is that Keith is sharing a place with his two brothers and then being assholes who wouldn't let him do it anywhere but the backyard. Well, add that to Keith didn't technically have any, history to put on display, but he did have a whole family of raccoons living in the chassis of an old car. And you begin to understand.
Nu kan du fråga dig själv hur ett ärligt försök att återskapa kolonialtidens majestät förvandlades till tvättbjörnslagsmål för 5 spänn per pop på Keiths bakgård. Haha. Man. Svaret på just den frågan är att Keith delar plats med sina 2 bröder och att de är idioter som inte låter dem göra det någon annanstans än på bakgården, ja. Lägg till att Keith tekniskt sett inte hade någon, historia att visa upp, men han hade en hel familj tvättbjörnar som bodde i chassit på en gammal bil och du skulle börja förstå.
My buddy Keith had his car drop in a lake off a bridge just like this one here. Yeah, see, he was driving over it late at night, and there in the middle of the bridge was what looked like, in Keith's estimation, like a dead bear. So Keith gets out his car to find like a stick to poke at it, right?
Já, félagi minn Gator lét bílinn sinn falla í vatnarbrú alveg eins og þessi hérna. Já, sjáðu til. Hann var að keyra yfir hann seint á kvöldin og þarna á miðri brúni var það sem leit út eins og dauður björnan mat í Gator. Svo Gator fer út úr bílnum sínum til að finna prikk til að pota í hann, ekki satt.
Well, it turns out it's just some lady's fur coat that must have fallen out her car. So, hey, free coat, right? Now, owls won't normally attack a man, but in this case they were hungry, and that made them reckless, man. Keith reckons they must have been there for hours watching what they thought was a bear carcass, because as soon as he picked it up, them owls had claws in him an inch deep.
Bueno, resulta que es solo el abrigo de piel de una dama que debe haberse caído de su auto, así que, oye, abrigo gratis, ¿verdad? Ahora, los búhos normalmente no atacan a un hombre, pero en este caso, tenían hambre, y eso los hizo imprudentes, hombre. Kate cree que deben haber estado allí durante horas observando lo que creían que era el cadáver de un oso, porque tan pronto como lo recogió, las lechuzas tenían garras en él con 1 pulgada de profundidad.
I ever tell you about the time my buddy Keith made sushi? Yeah, his mom took him to a sushi place for his birthday, and he didn't want to go, but he turned out he loved it, man. But it's like $10 a sushi at one of them places. So Keith figures, hey, how hard could it be to roll up some raw food and seaweed, right? As it turns out, it's hard. Now, they say experience is the best teacher, and experience taught Keith that if you ever eat 3 pounds of raw chicken, it kills you. And luckily, Keith's brain went into self-defense mode and started shutting organs down to head the chicken off of the pass, and the doctors were able to get him out before his heart stopped. But to this day, Keith has no sensation in his right foot, and doesn't recognize his brother Paul no more.
I ever tell you about the time my buddy Keith made sushi? Yeah, his mom took him to a sushi place for his birthday and he didn't want to go, but he turned out he loved it, man. But it's like $10 a sushi in one of them places, so Keith figures, hey, how hard can it be to roll up some raw food and seaweed, right? As it turns out, it's hard. Now, they say that experience is the best teacher, and experience taught Keith that if you ever eat 3 pounds of raw chicken, it kills you. Now luckily, Keith's brain went into self-defense mode and started shutting organs down to head the chicken off at the pass, and the doctors were able to get him out before his heart stopped. But to this day, Keith has no sensation in his right foot, and doesn't recognize his own brother Paul no more.
Hey y'all, yeah, I like this bridge you got. You know, this reminds me, my buddy Keith and I were once on a bridge just like this, man. Well, kinda, I mean, I was on the bridge and Keith was sure he could jump the river without the bridge. So I raised the bridge and well, did you know cars could float? I mean, for a little while at least.
Et, vous tous, ouais, j'aime ce pont que vous avez. Tu sais, ça me rappelle mon pote Keith et moi étions une fois sur un pont comme ça, mec. Eh bien, un peu. Je veux dire, j'étais sur le pont et Keith était sûr qu'il pouvait sauter la rivière sans le pont. Alors j'ai soulevé le pont. Et, eh bien, saviez-vous que les voitures peuvent flotter? Je veux dire, pendant un petit moment au moins.
I ever tell you about the time my buddy Keith got married? Course not. That's a trick question, because he never did get married. You know, you always hear about them runaway brides. Well, Keith, he was a runaway groom on his wedding day. Yep, all started when he...
I ever tell you about the time my buddy Keith got married? Course not. That's a trick question. 'Cause he never did get married. You know you always hear about them runaway brides? Well, Keith, he was a runaway groom and on his wedding day. Yep. It all started when he...
I ever tell you about the time my buddy Keith snuck into a wedding? He thought he was being smart, getting all dressed up and like, but it seems the preacher wasn't there and they all thought he was the preacher and well, he married him the best he could. I think that counts for them being married, but I don't know, maybe not. I think they named one of their...
I ever tell you about the time my buddy Keith snuck into a wedding? He thought he was being smart getting all dressed up and like, but it seems the preacher wasn't there and they thought he was the preacher and, well, he married them the best he could. I think that counts for them being married, but, I don't know, maybe not. I think they named one of their...